Hello and welcome everybody to the great inflation versus deflation debate, Vox Day's first response. And we will get right into it. Nearly 20 years ago, I reached the finals of a karate tournament. It was the third and final point fighting tournament of my brief career, and the first one in which I wasn't ejected in the first match for excessive contact. I never liked point fighting, which is essentially a version of tag. My opponent in the final was a good friend of mine from the dojo and a sort of pocket Hercules who could do 6 reps at 275 and whose nickname was the Terminator. Our sensei encouraged the referee to let things go for once. We both fully unleashed on each other, but after the scheduled 2 minutes was up, the score was only 2-2. The referee turned uh, to our sensei before the overtime and said, "Do these guys fight each other every day or something? No matter how fast and hard we threw our kicks and punches, it was never hard to penetrate the other's defenses because we both knew perfectly well what the other guy was intending." In like manner, because Nate and I are both familiar and more or less in accordance with Austrian school economics, a lot of this debate is likely to strike readers less familiar with it as pointless, but rest assured it is not. It is precisely because of the windows of opportunity that are going to be small uh, that an amount of testing and probing for weaknesses is going to be required. Also, as longtime readers of the blog, Nate is very familiar with my approach to critical discourse and is going to be exceedingly wary of various traps I habitually lay for interlocutors. So be patient and try to resist the urge to leap ahead because this is not going to proceed immediately into the superficially obvious chasm, which is the different opinions concerning debt that separates us. In his first response, Nate indicated his acceptance of the monetary tradition of Turgot with two critical addenda. He writes, "Note that nowhere in either of Vox's proposed definitions do we find a critical factor. Turgot omits it, Law omits it, Mises, Rothbard, Salerno, and pretty much every other Austrian has agreed that the key factor of money is the fact that it completes a transaction. Completing a transaction is one thing that money does that nothing else does. In the interest of charity and goodwill, I will suggest that Turgot's characteristics of money are all fine with me, provided that we remember that the value supposedly stored by money is subjective, and that we add the requirement that I have hitherto beaten into the ground. It must serve as to complete the transaction. I have no objection to either addendum, and am content to accept it with the reasonable definition of money for the moment, although I reserve the right to propose alternative definitions should this definition prove to be inefficient in the course of the debate. So this leaves us with the following characteristics of money. One, a medium of exchange. Two, a unit of expression. Three, an object of commerce, i.e. exchangeable goods. Four, a tool of economic calculation. Five, an intrinsic store of subjective value. And six, a completer of a transaction. Before I proceed further, answer. I must explicitly answer the question Nate posed to me. Lots of things store value. Lots of things can be used to estimate value. Lots of things can be employed to add in an exchange. Money does all of these, but money is the only thing that does all of these things and completes the exchange without creating a need for another transaction. True or false? Again, for the sake of argument and the interest of charity and goodwill, I can only answer one way. True. Armed as we are now with the expanded definition of money, we can proceed to begin the to begin considering the question of the money supply. In doing so, I will recall that Nate and in the following two statements by Mises, with which we already know from his previous post, he is almost surely familiar. We may give the name of commodity money to the sort of money that is at the same time a commercial commodity, and that of fiat money the to that comprises things with special legal qualification. A third category may be called credit money. This being the sort of money which constitutes a claim against any physical or legal person. But these claims must not be uh, both payable and demandable and absolute security. If they are, if they were, then there could be no difference between their value and that of the sum money to which they are referred, and they could not be subjected to an independent process of valuation on which the part of those who dealt with them. Mises, The Theory of Money and Credit, page 61. The nominalists assert that the monetary unit in modern countries, at any rate, is not a concrete commodity unit that can be defined in subjective technical terms, but a nominal quantity of value, which nothing can be said except that it is created by law, without touching upon the vague and nebulous nature that is phraseology, which will not sustain a moment's criticism. From which the point of view of the theory of value, let us simply ask, what then were the mark, the franc, the pound before 1914? Obviously, they were nothing but certain weights of gold. Mises, The Theory of Money and Credit, page 66. Same, of course, is true of the thaler or dollar, for which the U.S. version is 24.057 grams of silver. This naturally leads me to conclude the following question, to which I should like Nate's answer. 1. Are gold and silver commodity money? 2. Are the Federal Reserve notes in both cash and deposit form commodity money or fiat money? Does TSM2 represent your definition of money supply? And 4, what is the various components of TSM2, commodity money, fiat money, or some combination therein? That concludes Vox's response. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week for the next one. Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe on BitChute, YouTube, or Podbean, wherever you happen to listen to these. Have a good day.